Hi, I'm Mara Webster with In Creative Company, and thank you so much for tuning into one of our talks today. I'm so thrilled today to be joined by the fantastic Monique Green to talk all about the Disney Plus series, Big Shot. And I actually wanted to start by talking about the basketball training because you did about 2 months of training with all of the rest of the cast before even filming, and a lot of that training continued into the show as well because there are so many scenes and everyone was coming in with different levels of basketball experience. And I was really interested in terms of being able to pull off a lot of those scenes without having extensive basketball experience. What were some of the specific skills and kind of tactics and plays that were really important for all of you to learn to be able to work cohesively as a team on camera?
Right. So you're right. We did have a good amount of practice before the show actually started. So that meant we were practicing our layups, we were practicing our shooting skills, we were practicing passing, as well as like defensive stances and just making sure we had the stamina for when we did get to shooting. Those scenes actually took the longest because they required a lot of different movements as well as the camera angles. So as a result of that, like we had our coordinator, Keela Snowden. She taught us not only like the skills that we would need, but also what she had planned out. So kind of like choreography for the scenes. So when you're seeing it on the show, we're actually doing the movements. We don't have any body doubles or anything. We've learned those movements and perfected them so that it looks good for the camera shots. And on set, like on the day, if she needs to switch something out, like she'll easily be able to do that too. But we were actually playing basketball out there, I will say.
And there's so many dynamics in those scenes as well because it's not just about what position your character plays, it's about who are they within the team as a player to the rest of their teammates. And then also those scenes are always driving forward the narrative, driving forward story, centering in on characters in different moments. And we see the day carrying through onto the court as well. And so I was just really interested in the process of filming a lot of those scenes with a lot of that in mind and how you approached them in terms of who you felt Olive was on the team on the court to her teammates.
Well, I think that Keela, I'll say her name again, she does a good job at identifying all of our strengths and our weaknesses. So I feel like when viewers watch the show, like we're confident in the moves that we're doing. Before Big Shot, I didn't really play basketball. I knew a lot about basketball. I played in middle school, but it was just all for fun. I really just wanted to play to be with my friends. So when I got this job, I knew that I was going to have to really try and practice and dedicate time towards it. So even before we started practicing together as a team, I was practicing on my own, just trying to get my dribbling skills up to par, my passing, my layups, and my shooting to make sure like my jump shot looked right. Um, and I felt like in terms of me playing Olive, technically I'm not supposed to be like the best player on the team. And if you've seen Big Shot already, Yvette Nicole Brown, Miss Sherilyn, she tells me that I'm not that good, but actually, I think in person I'm better than Olive on the team. So you guys don't really get to see all the stuff that I'm able to do, but you guys get to see some stuff, which is great, and I feel like that's highlighted in the show.
Yeah. One of the things I really appreciate about the show is that all of these young women have so much self worth and confidence. And I feel like with Olive, especially, we see so much of that coming through in your performance and the way that you played her. So, how did you set about making sure that that was a huge part of her core identity as a character?
Well, first off, I'll say that on Big Shot, the writers are amazing. And they also do a really fantastic job at identifying who we are personally and then adding to that to our character on the show. I knew that when I read the script that it was going to be about that people were going to be able to identify with these young girls who are very outspoken, who are confident and who have a lot of self-worth. And I feel like that's something really powerful in our show, especially with my character Olive. I feel like every single scene I tried to bring some of that into it so that when little young girls are watching, they can want to be like that, try to emulate those types of characteristics, because at the end of the day, women are strong, they are confident, and they do have a lot of self-worth. And we want to create an atmosphere where men and women are viewed as more equals than separated.
Yeah. That's really amazing the way that you're talking about the collaboration with the writers and the way that they really look to all of you individually for a lot of character details. And especially as you got further into filming the season and everybody got to know each other a little bit more and they got to see the way that you were playing her, are there any kind of details or aspects of Olive that we see a little bit later in the season that really came into play from the collaboration with the writers and either them seeing things in you or things that you were able to suggest for her?
I would say how they were able to take some things in the beginning and then as it went on throughout the season, you were able to see more of was maybe how I talk. I feel like in the beginning, the writers, they have the lines, but we were able to make the lines our own in our own unique way. So how you see the characters talk on Big Shot is similar to how we would talk in real life. And obviously, I'm Black, so they might add like a little bit more of that type of lingo in the script, not because they're trying to stereotype or anything, but because they've personally known me and they know how I would say certain things. And so I feel like in terms of how Olive says things, it's kind of more similar to how I would say things, and it comes across more natural and more genuine on screen.
Yeah. And it sounds like in working with John Stamos that there were a lot of times where he was checking in with everybody in terms of, does that feel right to you? Is that, is that how you feel your character would respond to this situation? And that he really kind of like put a lot of confidence and validation in everybody's performance, and was just interested in that side of working with him and how that really helped you performance wise in a lot of the scenes together.
Yeah, so I will say that John Stamos, he's amazing. What I feel like people envision John Stamos is like, he really is in real life. He's a really supportive person, and I feel like that's something so special that you might not be able to get on a lot of other shows. He's really there rooting people on and supporting them, and not just what we do on set, but what we do off set. He's a big champion of who we are. And on set, he's very funny. It's not just off camera. Like he's really funny. And sometimes he'll do things when we're in scenes when it's not on his coverage. And so it kind of makes it hard to do our scene because he does stuff that's funny. But I feel like what it does is it creates a more comfortable atmosphere on set. And I feel like because he does try to check in and he does try to be there and make a more personable relationship with each and every one of us, it's made working on this show such an amazing experience.
Yeah. And when you were first auditioning for the part, you described how you very immediately just had such a sense of the heart at the center of the show and that really came across. How much of a sense did you start to have of what the show was going to be and what the voice and tone of the show was going to be when you were in the audition process to really start figuring out who Olive was as a character, even at that point?
So yes, when I first started reading the script, I already got a sense of how this show can be so special to every viewer. And then I think what solidified it to me was when I got a chance to be around the other girls. Because when you're auditioning alone. You don't get the sense of how everything works together. But I feel like once I was able to audition with the other girls and see the chemistry that we had, I knew, okay, this is a special show because it's about women empowerment. It's about confident girls who are going through stuff in school, but who still have this very big sense of self-worth and who are outspoken and who are not afraid to speak their mind. And that's important. It's refreshing. I feel like we don't have something like that right now. And I feel like during the pandemic, it was a very wonderful and heartfelt show that people can really connect to, relate to, and be inspired by.
Yeah. And then obviously, we were talking before about the basketball training, but there's so much more that goes into creating and shaping a character. And so with Olive, what were some of the things that you did or part of your character development process to really figure out a lot of different aspects of her personality?
So I feel like the place where I feel like people can watch and see most of Olive's personality is through her hair. Me and the hair lady, her name is Wendy, we put in a lot of effort to make sure that Black hair representation was there. So that meant me, texting her outside of Big Shot, sending her ideas of what I wanted to do, her sending me ideas of what we wanted to do, how we were going to incorporate it into the show and use styles that maybe girls might not have a lot of money for. but can still do on themselves, and it still looks cute, trendy, hip. And I feel like we really intentionally tried to make that aspect of all his personality come out, because if you watch the show, we're mostly in uniforms, school uniforms, but also basketball uniforms. So I don't have a ton of option to show it with my dress. I feel like you might see it amongst my accessories and my shoes, but a lot of the show is shot from here. So you don't even get to see a lot of the shoes either. So you'll see a lot of like rings or a lot of different hairstyles. And I know that some people have already noticed, but I feel like whoever continues to watch will be able to pick up on that too, that type of representation, because Black hair representation is important.
Yeah. And I really loved the way that the show gave, made sure that it gave space to all of the characters. And so you got that episode where we really got to see a lot more of the behind the scenes and her family life and her parents, and that discovery of the veneer that she was presenting online, not necessarily matching what was at home. And I thought it was interesting because you really developed this character who is very confident and knows who she is, but at the same time is struggling with the version of herself that she's presenting both at home because she's not bringing things from school home, and at school because she's bringing everything forward from her home life but not really kind of presenting it in the same way, and was interested in how you really wanted to represent that dynamic and that internal struggle between those two spaces for her.
Well, I think that struggle that people are able to see on Big Shot is relatable. I feel like every person has an inside person who they are and an outside person. And so I feel like when we try to do things to make people perceive us in a certain way, that's natural to humans, and that's what I feel like is relatable in terms of what you see in episode 4 with Olive's story. Who do we present ourselves as social media? And that's prevalent right now. We're in a social media age. There's lots of people posting things that is what people think their life is like, but it's not really. And I think it was important for that particular episode that we showed that Olive was presenting herself in a certain way, but her actual life was different. I think that's the most relatable part of it, that you can, as a person, be operating in two different lives, but you are still one person at the end of the day. But the message is, you're enough who you are, and people will love you for what you have, who you are, no matter what.
And because that episode came partway through the season, and obviously not all of the scripts are finalized and written for you to be able to have them all at the beginning, did you know a lot of those details early going on? Was it something where you actually had some of the script pages, or that the writers had conversations with you, or was it something that you uncovered about her as you were getting deeper into the show?
That I was presenting that way,
Yeah.
social media. So when we got like episode 1, like I didn't know. I didn't know that Olive was doing that. But by episode like end of episode 2, we were able to get more scripts. So then I realized, okay, this is how I'm presenting myself, but this is who I actually am in real life. And then I feel like once I was able to connect to that helped inform all of the rest of the scenes I shot before episode 4. So then once it came, it was kind of a more shocking thing to like other people, that I am not, this person that I'm presenting myself as. I feel like I try to, as a character, overcompensate for things. And that's what I think you see as the episodes progress to episode 4. And then once you get to episode 4, you see a more realistic side of who Olive is. And then as the series continues on, she does try to be more of a real, genuine person. And I feel like that's how I informed myself of how to play Olive throughout all of the episodes.
And there's also that really lovely scene where Coach Marvin comes to her home and talks to her parents and is like, she's an amazing person, and I would have been honored to be a teammate of hers. I love coaching her. And for you, did you want to then create a shift in the dynamic and the relationship between her and him following that moment? Because that, he really lays all his cards on the table in that moment and gives so much, validation in everything that he thinks about her.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I feel like if you see episode 1, we all have our reservations about who Marvin Korn is. And over the course of the season, you see we all have our little connections to him that allow us to create more of a relationship with him, more of a connection, which then allows us to connect more with ourselves and then also our teammates, which allows us to finish out the season with D2. And you're right with what you just said. Like I feel like that episode happened, that scene happened with me and Marvin Korn, and so then that then informed how I relate to him for the rest of the season, because I had that special moment with him. He came into my house and met my parents and had that community with me there.
Yeah. And this, this is your first role on screen as a series regular. And so what was different for you in terms of showing up to set and getting to inhabit a character for so much more time on screen in terms of the way that you worked and your overall process on working on the show?
Yeah, so this is actually my second series regular role,
Sorry.
but no, it's okay. This is actually my second series regular role, but I did a pilot and it just didn't get picked up. So in terms of the expectation, I feel like I understood what was expected of me, but what was different in terms of this show is I knew, okay, I have 10 episodes that I need to sustain who I am on set and who I am off set, because it's really important to create a routine for yourself before you come to set, because set is long days, long nights. And I feel like, especially for Big Shot, because it has these basketball scenes, I told you before, but they took the longest. They took the longest to shoot because they were so important, so integral to the story. It was like you have to make sure you get all of the correct angles and all of the special camera shots that the directors wanted to do. So I feel like in terms of that, I had to learn a lot more about how to sustain myself, how to keep coming to set with the same great attitude and with the same energy. How do I preserve my energy for 10 episodes now? Because what we're doing is important, and I want to make sure that I show up in a way where I can still get that message across. And so I feel like what I did is I drink a lot of smoothies to try and stay healthy, so I try to keep that as a part of my routine. It gets harder when you're like going to bed at 2 or 3 and then having to wake up at 6 a.m. the next morning. But I did try to be healthy as we were going through set, and then still try to stay connected to the girls. Like we have a group chat where we try to just keep talking to one another. And I feel like that helped the chemistry maintain itself throughout, our long period of shooting.
Yeah. And with all of you working on the show together and the fact that there was that gift of there being such a great ensemble, and like you said, everybody got really close to each other, what are some of the learning curves that you feel that you all had the opportunity to go through together in working on the show?
Definitely playing basketball was the learning curve for all of us to go through together. And I feel like that's what made us so close, because we all came into this, none of us really playing. And so I feel like we all connected on that front, and there was no judgment because we were all coming from the same level. And so that's what I feel like connected us the most, because we were seeing ourselves at, our sweatiest, where it's real life in the gym, we're doing hard work in the gym. And I feel like that's how we were able to build such a strong chemistry offset, but then a strong chemistry on set, which I feel like people feel when they watch the show, that we are all good friends, and we are.
Yeah. Well, I really, really enjoyed watching your performance on the show, and I'm excited for more seasons of it to come. Thank you so much, Monique.
Thank you so much. It was lovely being here and talking to you.